be patient with yourself. I think that's the one thing that I was also really hard on myself, was forcing myself to, you know, release, but you do need to be patient with yourself, because working and releasing from a place of rush and, pressure, people can see right through it. So give yourself the time, give yourself the grace, learn from the mistakes, and prosper.
From Kona Juda and Debia, Elaine Umsindiswesi, Umvelisen Rangomelis Wesizwe, formerly known as Lwazi Madonsela, bringing you a show about creative entrepreneurs live from the landmark that not only birth SA street culture but also formalize the street hustle.
Yo, sorry for interrupting this beautiful episode, but I have an important announcement. On the 5th of October, we're celebrating 2 years of this podcast. Yes, we're now in 90s right now, chasing the 100th episode, which we're going to record live at the live event. We're going to start with live podcasts, master classes. So at the beginning, starting during the day, 12 o'clock, first off, we're going to knock it off with podcasts. Secondly, we're going to give you a master class. Thirdly, we're going to record the 100th episode live. So you can ask these questions. And the 100th guest can only guess. You can only guess. This is a person who's changed the game. Without further ado, please buy the ticket. It's only $100. Hope to see you there at the live event. And most importantly, the link is below. Enjoy this episode, comment, and don't forget, hashtag #CornerTurns2. And if you can't make it, just repost, just reshare, or buy the ticket for the love of the culture. Kona Juda and Debia, special edition. Thank God for the savings. We have Elaine.
Hi.
Elements, songstress, hit maker, game changer. I heard you on my favorite podcast for the first time. I fully heard a song, and this guy was wilding out. I was like, "Yo, this Elaine girl from South Africa is
That's
on
crazy.
point."
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
I never thought Elaine would come to the show. Look at us, corner boys.
We're here now.
I think the first question I have to ask, from all the questions I've prepared, how does it feel, like actually seeing your idea become a reality at that scale?
Oh my goodness, I think it's so surreal. It never ever feels real 90% of the time. I'm just super grateful, and I choose to live in that bubble of gratitude. That's what makes it more sweet. That's what also makes it last forever. Just being grateful. Yeah.
When you came up, most of us, we discovered you in real time as the rest of the world was discovering you. How did you build the fan base? How was it possible for you? Because everyone is like, when you track back the stories, like, yo, I was listening to Elaine early, we listened on campus, we knew Elaine as small cliques.
Yeah.
But then everyone just heard you at the same time.
I know. It's so weird to me because it all feels like it happened at the same time. Sometimes it even feels like it happened overnight. But I think I built my fan base from being extremely vulnerable. And I think that's what a lot of my fans relate to. And that's what the attachment is between us, is that they feel like they know a lot about me. And I know a lot about them, because if you're listening to my music, that means we're somewhat in the same headspace, or we're somewhat feeling the same. So I think that's the connection between me and my fans, is the emotions. So I think it's the vulnerability that brought them to me. But at the same time, it must be God's grace, because I feel like the bulk of them met me at the exact same time and at the exact same place, which was when I dropped my debut project. So I guess you could say it just blew up. And then I had fans that really, really, really stuck with me from then till now, which is, a blessing. I don't know of many stories that happened the way mine did, but I'm grateful nonetheless.
Looking back,
Yeah.
what was the takeaway at the moment people are like, yo, that's amazing?
Oh my gosh, the takeaway was that I'm actually dope. I think the takeaway was that I'm dope, and I think it was more of a reaffirming moment to me, to be like, you know what, you don't have to be talking about something that's unrealistic. You don't have to be talking about something that's foreign for people to really rock with you, and for people to stand beside you, and for people to be like, you know what, I'm a fan. You just need to be yourself. And I was myself through and through. I'm always myself in my music. I never see the need to talk about something that's not real. I'm genuinely 90% of the time, I'm talking about my feelings. I'm talking about relationships. I'm talking about experiences that I've been through, good or bad. And I think it just proved to me that, babe, you're dope, and your story is something that people want to hear because they can relate, keeping it authentic and keeping it real. I think that was the biggest takeaway. So from that, I think I learned to always keep it organic and to always be myself. I'm always telling my story the way I want to tell it, and however it resonates with the people is however it resonates, and I run with it.
How do you continuously share? Because sometimes it's a reach comparison wise, but sometimes like I'm posting on my stories, I'm posting my real life, but you consistently sharing about your real life and your music. Do you ever feel like there's a barrier you need to create at some stage because people somewhat know too much now?
With the music, no. There's no limits when it comes to my music. I talk about anything and I talk about everything because I think even when I'm in the studio, it's such a free space. I think out of the whole being a musician, there's so many things that you need to do. You know, there's the studio part of it, there's the live performance part of it, there's the writing part of it, there's the, you know, PR and marketing side of it. My favorite part is the studio part of it because that's where I feel like I'm the most free. There's no script, there's no rules, there's no regulations. It's just really what do I want to say and what do I feel like is important to me or what was something really significant that happened at this point in my life that I want to share. So I always keep it super real in my music. And I think with my upcoming album, that one has me more nervous because there really weren't any boundaries or barriers. So there I feel like, damn, I'm oversharing, but that's the platform. That's my platform, you know, to while, to cry, to that's my reaction. Music. People really get a reaction from me in real time. They barely even get a word out of me in real life. So music is really my only platform where I can do me.
Mm.
Yeah.
You make the music, you perfect the music.
Mm-hmm.
How do you then build a team outside of that? Because you've been independent longer than you've ever been signed.
That's true. That's true. I think building the team really comes from experience and it comes from people you can't really skip the part where there's a trial. You know, you can't just expect people to get you from jump and you can't just expect things to be smooth from jump. I think building a team is one of the most challenging parts, or at least for me, that has been the most challenging parts because even as an artist, I'm constantly evolving, I'm constantly growing, my needs are constantly changing. So I also need to learn the difference between being responsible in communicating where I'm at as an artist, where I'm at as a businesswoman, and also being responsible enough to notice when the team is on the same page with me and if it's not. But to be honest, it's a whole lot of trial and error. You know, it really is a trial and error. We do need to get on the ground. We do need to be in the studio. We do need to see our ideas get executed and to what level were they executed. You know, were they executed accurately or were they executed in a rush? I think those are some of the things that I'm learning as an independent artist and as a label executive as I go that, okay, cool, maybe this is for me, this is not for me, maybe you're stronger here, maybe you're stronger there. And it also takes a lot of delegating, which I'm just learning to do now. I'm such a hands-on and a leave it, I got it type of person that I think the biggest takeaway for me is learning to delegate and to give people roles and trusting them with those roles as well. So a lot of trial and error.
How do you deal with it when you put your trust and it doesn't work out? Because even for me recently, it's like you trust certain people to handle things with
Yeah,
the care
yeah.
that you'd expect to do it because also sometimes you're paying the fee
You are,
and it doesn't
yeah.
happen the way.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
It's disappointing, but I think at the end of the day, you need to stand on business. You know, besides having open conversations with people, you also need to know when to let people go, you know? And I'm not shy. I'm not shy. Respectfully, like if creatively or even when it comes to admin, whichever part of the business that we're just not getting on the same page on, you know, we just need to respectfully find an amicable way to separate, you know, and let bygones be bygones. But I don't really like to focus too much on what can't be done. I think I'm more of a problem solver, so I like to find solutions to problems. You know, is it a thing of someone on the team needing assistance? Is it a thing of them being just too preoccupied? Or sometimes people take on more than they can actually deliver. You know, and honest conversations are needed with myself and with the team members. And if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit because what I don't want is my creative space to become dreadful. You know, like I said, that's my freedom, that's my peace, that's where I really prosper. So I don't want it to feel like, damn, not again, another day in the office. You know, no, it's a very exciting time for me, and that's the energy that I like to keep between myself and the team.
You enter this journey, you become an executive.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that you as the actor are not doing good for the label? Because now you have to be double self-aware.
Damn. It's a lot of uncomfortable conversations. And I think for me, I make it a point to always remind the people around me to hold me accountable, and just the way I would hold them accountable. And they're not shy to let me know, like, girl, you're not pulling your weight, you're not performing, or we need more. It is also very strenuous because at the same time I do need to balance being a creative, being a musician, being a performer, and then on the other side I need to focus on making these life-changing decisions about money, decisions about a whole lot of things executively. I don't really answer to anyone. So it takes a lot of, again, trial and error, but it also takes a lot of knowing what I want to see happen. So if I know that, okay, my priority right now is the album, then I know that maybe live performances for a while, we're going to need to slow down on that just so I can be in the lab and so I can get these concepts out, and so we can get the album ready, and so we can get the mix and master ready. We have to put some time aside for traveling, because a lot of the people that are part of the album are outside the country, so we also need to account for things like that. So it takes a lot of decision making, and it also takes a lot of prioritizing for me. It's constantly changing depending on the season. When I'm in my season of hibernation, there's different things that I expect from my team as opposed to when I'm in my season of actively promoting a single or actively promoting a project. And those are also things that I've learned as I've grown for the past 5 years, that, okay, this works, this doesn't, I need support here, or I got it. So it really takes being extremely present in every aspect of the business. And I feel like sometimes as a musician, you don't want to be in the long meetings, you don't want to deal with the legal stuff, you don't want to deal with the admin, you don't want to deal with the negotiations, you don't want to deal with the disputes, you just want to sing and go. But I think this era and this season has forced me to be at the forefront of everything. Yeah.
You're building your career, but at some stage you're figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
You enter in, you connect, you now meet your idols.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like? Because for a lot of creatives who are watching this platform, a lot of people who are your fans,
Mm-hmm.
they always wonder what that moment was like for you when you're like, yo, I'm in studio with Kate Renata right now in
Oh my
America.
gosh. I think that's always such a you can't describe feelings like that. Being a girl from South Africa, from Pretoria, I would have never imagined that at like 20, 21 years old, I'd be sitting in West Hollywood making the album of my dreams. But at the same time, it also forces you to really step into your greatness. I think there was a period where I was struggling with like imposter syndrome, and I was like almost like shrugging it off, like, didn't really happen, or it's not that much of a big deal, or it's not a big deal at all. But when you listen to how people feel about you and how people feel about you in those spaces, I think you then begin to appreciate it a lot more, which is the space that I'm in now. I'm very appreciative that I got to be in those spaces, and that I'm still the girl that had a dream to make things like that happen, and they're just happening in front of my eyes. So there's not a particular feeling that I can word it into, or use to describe it. It's just crazy, really. Yeah.
You've been on both sides of the court. You've been independent, you've been signed, you've been independent. What would you say is like the real difference for you?
There's a lot of differences. I think being signed is a lot more admin than it looks. There are so many people within the label that need to be on the same page as you. Outside of the A&R, there are so many people that are assigned to your project. There's an A&R, there's a product manager, there's an international team, there is a touring department, there's a licensing department, there's a sync department, there's a creative department, there's the executives as well, and all those people need to be on the same page. It's not like me calling my A&R here and being like, yeah, I like this track, let's drop it this Friday. All those people that I just mentioned and the people on their teams need to be on the same page, need to be in agreement. And it takes a lot of yeses from a lot of different people. And it takes a lot of time to be on the same page as well. You can imagine being an artist and hearing opinions from all those people, on how they feel about your work.
That's so personal to you.
That's so personal to you, and them wanting to either add or take away from that, which could be an advantage depending on how you look at it. But I think the label system, keyword system, is something that artists need to understand even before they sign a deal, and I think with being independent, Not to say that there's no system or structure, but that system and structure can be more so designed specifically for you and the type of artist that you are, and just attending more to your own needs. You know, you have more control, you have more say, and you have more responsibility as well, because you also have to, like I said earlier, delegate all those roles. And from being in the label and being independent again, building my team according to what I liked at the label and what I appreciated about the system is not as easy as it looks, because again, not a lot of people have worked in an international label system, you know, which is what I think the disconnect is between signed and not being signed. It's just that lack of information, you know, and the lack of a platform as well. So that's what I could say is the difference between the two.
It's interesting. It's like you've gone into it as a business holistically. You came back out
Yeah.
of it. You're like, yo, this is how I view it.
Yeah.
When you're in West Hollywood, the opportunities that are presented, how did you maneuver them? Because like the world is literally your oyster at that stage.
It is my oyster. I maneuvered every opportunity by throwing myself right in the middle of that opportunity. There wasn't an opportunity that I turned down, even when I felt like I wasn't ready for it. You would still catch me deep within, whether it was a studio session, a writing session, a performance, a gig. I took every single opportunity, not only for the platform, but to learn, you know, because I think for me, I've never wanted to be the artist that's like, you know, I'm going to sit here and do my thing. You guys figure it out and I'll come out when everything is ready. I'm hyper obsessive, hyper involved, and hyper independent. So I also wanted to learn to be able to not only bring it back home and bring that sort of structure into the places where I feel like it's lacking, but even for myself as, you know, a label owner who's releasing music through their own label, just so that the experience is worthwhile, you know? Yeah.
You're in these studio sessions with these Grammy Award winning acts.
Yeah.
And you just used to work with your friends. What was
Yeah.
the difference? Like, how did you change?
I don't think there's ever a difference in me when I'm creating music. I always am the same person when I'm in the studio and when I'm making music. I have a brief, I have an idea, I have a concept, so I'm already going there asking the producer to produce something specific for me. That's just my creative process. But I think the difference was the reach and the resources. We had so much more to work with, you know, so many sounds and soundscapes, and even down to the equipment that I had never seen, been exposed to, or been able to create with, down to recording, the microphones that I used for the album as well. Like, I sound completely different, and not in a way that takes away my identity, but in a way that enhances it, you know, because of the level of the studios that we used, the mixing and mastering that we opted for. Everything was super technical and to a greater scale. But from the creative side, I think I still maintain who I am as a creator in every session.
You dabbed into Amapiano a bit.
Yes.
We've seen the Amapiano R&B blend going.
Yeah, doing
Is
my
it
little
something you're doing?
thing. You know, when I make music, I don't make it like according to like, okay, I'm in my Amapiano era, or I'm in my R&B era, or I'm in my trap soul era. I just make music, and I think at that time I was spending a lot of time at home, and there's very little collaborative R&B sessions that happen at home. I think Amapiano has really mastered the art of collaboration, which is what I really, really enjoy. There could be 7 people on a song, and it's, you know, we're rocking the whole way. In R&B, we don't see a lot of that, you know. So I think in the spirit of collaboration, and because I really love the genre, I was just like, yes, 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 let's do it, let's do it. So you guys will definitely be hearing me more on Amapiano. I don't know about putting out an Amapiano album. People act like me hopping on and, you know, having 1 or 2 Amapiano songs is like I'm gonna have a whole Amapiano album. No, no. I'm still very much an R&B artist, but I love collaboration, and I love collaborating with South African artists, South African producers.
I think people felt like that because, in my knowing and recent history, you're the first actual R&B act to break out of South Africa.
Okay.
Because before that, it's like biggest groups like Jamaica only had like 3 songs.
I get that. I understand
It's like
that.
one song.
I understand that. I understand the frustration, but I think also like as an artist, it's important for my community and my fans to understand that R&B will forever be my one and only, but I'm also a musician at large. You might hear me on a pop song one day, you might hear me on a rock song. And the album also has so many sounds as well. I don't ever want to condition my fan base to think that they can only receive me in one way, shape, or form. I never want to keep my fan base comfortable. They can never predict me or see me coming or confirm me. Like kanganyana pitolo unconfirm yan. Nah, where to confirm man. But R&B is my baby and it's my love, so I can understand that. And I also don't take that platform for granted. Like when people say, "Oh my gosh, you're the queen of South African R&B," I'm like, damn, I really am. But does that mean that that's it? For me, no. I think me having that platform is only gearing me up to be able to enter into different soundscapes and different, genres as well. Yeah, and like you said, being the first sort of artist that South Africans have seen do R&B on a mainstream level is also something very different. It's not like I'm just trapped in this little R&B underground community. Like it's open for everyone. You know what I mean? And I think part of being a mainstream act is also means crossing genres. You know,
We're seeing a lot of musicians turn to product owners, marketers. Is
mm-hmm.
that the next step since you've entered the executive phase
I don't
of your
know.
career?
I don't know how far it's gonna go, but I think at this point, I'm really just trying to master the music business. I feel like I've spent the past 5 years mastering my sound, mastering my music, really getting this album to where I want it to be. That now my my priorities have changed and grown. I feel like there's so much more that I can do and so much more that I want to do, especially in the context of South African music and the South African music industry, the way it's built and the way that it operates. And I'm learning a lot from, again, seeing how R&B in South Africa is moving and progressing, as opposed to, let's say, an Amapiano and how that's progressing and moving. Do you know what I mean? I still think as much as I have a voice within everything that's happening, I don't think South African R&B has that type of amplification. So I've been working really hard on also, being the face of not just Elaine, but R&B as a whole. So that's something that I'm really passionate about and putting a lot of effort into. Yeah.
You're building a career,
Mm-hmm.
you're building music, you've traveled to
Mm-hmm.
refine the music,
Mm-hmm.
got an expert advice, got expert experiences.
So much.
Do you still make the music as a musician or do you make it as an executive?
Oh my goodness. The music is the purest part of it all. There's no premeditation, there's no, script when it comes to the music. It's always super organic. In fact, I haven't been in the studio as much of late because I was in the studio for like 5 years straight making songs every single day. So if I don't feel like I have anything worthwhile to say, or if I feel like I don't have the room to really express how I'm feeling, I'm not necessarily going to say anything because it's not a business decision that I'm making. The music is the purest part of me and of my entire operation because that's what brings the fans to me. And I feel like the minute something is off, you'll be able to tell. It's like a relationship with your partner. You can tell immediately when the vibes are off, when they're hiding something from you. I think that's the same relationship that I have with my music and that my fans also have with my music. From jump, they can tell that, okay, she's going through a heartbreak or she's in love or, hey girl, someone needs to break your heart because we want something else. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so we have that frequency, my fans and I. So I always know I got to keep it real with the music.
We're seeing a lot of artists, Loisos, Java, etc., go on tour circuits of their own independently. Is that the next move for you as well?
Yes, it is. It's probably going to be a theatre tour. I'm very excited for that. We also don't see like too much of them in SA, so it's going to be a very intimate, special edition, the Elaine experience. But yeah, we're working on that, and I'm very excited.
From jump, visuals have been so important to your career. Because the first time I saw your visuals, they were being edited. I don't think that video even came out.
Yeah.
And you focused on the look and feel for everything. How important is the visual identity?
Extremely important. In fact, I spend a lot of time building, rebuilding, and just I want to say obsessing because I obsess over so many aspects of my career, but that one is at the top of the list over the visual identity, how it looks, how it feels, what I'm conveying, and what era of my life it is. You can tell by the visuals where I was at, in my career, sonically, personally, emotionally. And I think now the biggest challenge that I'm having with this debut album as well is getting it to where I want it to be visually. We've put in so much time, so much money, so much effort into really getting the visuals to reintroduce myself to my fans because I've changed, I've grown, and that's also a communication language that I use with my fans. That's how they see a lot of what my music is talking about. So it's extremely important. I invest a lot of money into my visuals, like a lot. And I don't mind.
You spent 5 years making the music.
Yeah.
How many years are you going to take to release it?
That's
Because
so
we
funny.
spent. No, the reason I'm saying this because Levels, the album I gave, was released over 3 years.
Yeah.
It was one product, but
Yeah.
it took years. Whereas now we see a lot of artists, they'll release an album, release music videos, then it's there within 2 months.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, no. I'm always in rollout. I'm always in rollout mode from the inception of the concept, the album concept. I'll be putting out hints. So realistically, I can say I've pretty much been teasing and rolling out this album for like the past 4 years. We started with the blues.
Yeah.
Then there was an era where I was just in like denim wear. Then like I went into my era where I was really promoting Shine, which was also a new sound that I was just also testing with. And now we're at the final product and the final stage of this. And it's going to be released this year, actually, very soon. So I'm not going to take forever to release it, but I'll probably be rolling it out for the rest of my life, really. The rollout doesn't stop.
How
Yeah.
do you let go of things creatively? Because sometimes
It's difficult. It's the worst part ever. I always say, like, the best part for me out of all this is making the music, and the most stressful part is putting it out because it's just like, if it's not technical, it's opinionated. If it's not opinionated, it's just so, like, it's hectic. And I feel like that's the part where I have the least control over. Once the music is out, I kind of need to let it do its course. The control is only really behind the scenes, the editing, the rewriting, the mixing and the mastering. So it's really hard to let go of it. But once it's out there, I let it go completely. I just let it flow and let it do its thing. But the letting go part is extremely difficult because I also don't like putting out a product that I'm not 100% happy with. And getting me 100% happy is. I don't want to get into it, but it's not easy. It's draining. I'm a draining hand. Yeah.
Because I always looked at it, I was like, albums normally come in like 13 songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've been recording for the past 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
you've let go of like 10 albums.
Do you know what I mean? But do you also know how many songs I have like just in my drafts? Like hundreds of songs.
But how are you content with just leaving them there? Because for me, it's like you have a DSP, you have a label.
It's not about it's not, but you see, I think that's what people also really, really don't understand. Like dropping a song is very difficult. Aside from the creative, there's also tons of expenses that go behind it. So you record the song, right? Let's say you're happy with the song, everything is cool. Then you need to get it in for mixing and mastering, which also is not easy. Every single line needs to be perfect. It needs to sound the way you want it to sound. And then you get into the creative. You have to shoot all of that. After you shoot that, you need to go into post for that, and then there's the marketing plan that you need to put together. And aside from it being so technical and admin related, it's also very expensive, to put it out, especially from an independent perspective. So anytime I hear people being like, oh, what's taking so long, just drop the song. It's not as easy. You don't just click a button and and upload. You also got to be in agreement with everybody else that's on the song. Sometimes there's 3 4 producers on the song. Sometimes there's even a writer. You got to come to agreement with them. You got to have it on paper. They also on their own time. They also have their own things that they're working with. You're going back and forth on that. You need to get a lawyer in the mix. They need to get their lawyer in the mix. We all need to make sure we're happy. We all need to sign, and then we all need to collectively agree that, okay, I'm taking this much, you're taking that much. Sometimes they won't want that. Sometimes they want to go back and forth. So there's just a lot behind putting out a song. I wish it was as easy as taking all of the songs on my phone and saying, yeah, today, next week. the week
Just
after.
set the time on
Ah, yeah,
YouTube.
just, put a cute little alarm and call it a day. I wish. But that's why we have albums. And I think that's why I also put a lot of my energy into my albums because what I've picked up is that my fans are not trying to hear one little story from me. They're trying to get the full tea, So they respond well to me putting out bodies of work, which is something that I'm also like super grateful for because a lot of artists, especially the artists that I engage with, some friends of mine, they're not interested in realistically putting together an album. A, because like I said, it's so time consuming. B, it takes so much money. And C, it's not as fun as it looks, especially if you are the one that's in control of everything. It's being the leader is not that fun. If we're being honest, like it's quite hard, So I'm grateful that I still have a fan base that actually only wants an album from me. The only thing that I'm ever getting slack for is where's the album. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. You guys are trying to hear me out, and you guys really appreciate hearing a body of work from me, and you guys appreciate hearing me tell my story. And so I also need to be able to tell my story in a way that's digestible. I think a lot of the times artists also struggle with how to tell their stories. So I spend a lot of time in also finding ways to digest the story for people. The last body of work they heard from me was almost 5 years ago. How do I catch you up? How do I let you know what I've been feeling, what I've been going through without overstimulating you, boring you with the details? Do you know what I mean? So a lot of work goes into an album. Yeah.
How do you maintain community and relationships? Because the music industry is very fickle and fast.
It is.
So the person who used to work at that label or the person who helped you at
Gone.
the DSP is gone.
Gone, moved on, is an artist now. A lot of things happen. Like music is such an interesting place and space. But I think it's your network. Truly, like your network is your net worth. For me personally, that's what has worked. I can pick up the phone, hit up someone at Apple. I can pick up the phone, hit up someone at Spotify. I can pick up the phone, hit up someone at YouTube. I can hit up my collaborators. I can hit up creative directors. I definitely think that your network is so important. And as an artist, especially when you're at a major record label, they do everything for you. You don't need to communicate with anyone from the DSPs. You don't need to be in half of the meetings. And at first you think it's cool until you're on your own and you're like, ish, I should have been in that meeting. I should have went to that mixer. I should have went to that meet and greet. I should have, gone to whatever that is, because at the end of the day, is it your network or is it whoever's working for you? So I've also taken it upon myself to show up. I show up as an artist. I show up to other artist events. I show up to the invites that the DSP send you. I show up to conferences. As boring as it is, I show up, because you show up for people and they show up for you. Because what I've learned in music, you're working with people. You're not working with bots. You're not just emailing back and forth. It's a very people orientated business. And if you're not good with people, you're going to have a tough time. So I had to learn at a very quick pace and at a very young age that it's a people's game. You are much better off calling someone than sending an email or pitching for something, genuinely, because there's millions of artists unsigned, undiscovered, that are doing the same. So somewhere, somehow, you need to find a balance, and you do need to have your own community within this massive, food chain, because it is massive, especially as an international artist. Like your team at, let's say, for example, an Apple in SA will be completely different to your team as an Apple in the UK or an Apple in the US, and you wouldn't know that if you're not invested or you're not involved in what happens on in the back end. So I think also being very involved in the back end is important. Even coming down to lawyers, you need to know your lawyer. You need to have a direct relationship with your lawyer. Using the lawyer from the label is not really, it happens, and we've been there. You think the lawyer's being kind, and you think the label is being kind because they say, oh, you're a lawyer, here's our guy. I said, what? I'm sorted. This deal is sweet. But at the same time, when you leave that structure, when you leave that system, you need to have something that at least is your own. And I think for me, the most important thing is ownership in any way, shape, or form. Like, you gotta have something that's yours. In an industry where everyone is just taking, eating, if you're not putting something aside for yourself, then there won't be anything left for you, genuinely, because everyone's looking out for themselves. Personally.
What's your word to the youth?
My words to youth, I have so many, but I think the biggest thing is just being a boss. There's no better time to be a boss than now. You really do gotta boss up, be ahead, be in charge of your business, your life, your creative, your story, your narrative. And do the groundwork. You'll thank yourself later. There's no skipping of steps, there's no shortcuts. And keep it real. People like real things. People like things that they can relate to, people that they can relate to. So if your story is too fabricated or your angle is too fabricated, it's just a matter of time before, you know, people really start to see the cracks in whatever is fabricated. So keep it real, be strategic, and be patient with yourself. I think that's the one thing that I was also really hard on myself, was forcing myself to, you know, release, 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 but you do need to be patient with yourself, because working and releasing from a place of rush and pressure, people can see right through it. So give yourself the time, give yourself the grace, learn from the mistakes, and prosper.
Damn,
Yeah, that's my piece.
that was a special edition. Elaine edition.
Hey, period. The Elaine
Thank you so much.
edition. Thank
So good.
you. That was so fire. Thank you for having me.
Shout out.